What's going on? I'm Ryan from Barbell PT and Performance, and today I'm joined by Dustin, who's a lifter that I had worked with personally a little while ago, and he agreed to hop on, kind of do a little bit of interview about what he was dealing with before kind of working with us, what the experience was like, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, man, thank you for agreeing to do this with me, and why don't you just kind of let us know a little bit about your training background and what it is that you were dealing with that ultimately led you to reaching out to us?
Yep. Yeah. So ultimately, what led me to reach out to y'all was I had some back issues. I had two different back surgeries, eventually needing L4, L5 fusion. And before my back surgery, I would like to do some group fitness, kind of CrossFit stuff. Since I've kind of stopped doing that and gotten more into like personal, just on my own type of training. So after all of my surgeries, through my two different surgeries, I obviously did the traditional PT route. It worked fine for what they wanted to do, but it wasn't exactly what I was hoping to get out of it. I would let my PTs know that my ultimate goal was to get back to the gym to be doing lifting movements, squats, bench, deadlift, kind of all that fun stuff.
Hmm.
They kind of gave me the traditional pieces of PT work with the bands and clamshells and kind of core strength. They did a little bit with Smith machine, a little bit with some barbell movements, but not nearly as much as I wanted. So just
Hmm.
did a quick search online of options that would be available for me out there and came across your Instagram page, saw the stuff that you did, the people that you'd worked with, and it kind of fit in with what I was looking to get out of it. So that's where I ultimately, first got in contact with you and had a great experience since.
Yeah, thanks, man. So, like prior to the surgeries, how had the back pain that you were dealing with been like affecting your training and kind of lifestyle and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, so it when it first came on, I would try to kind of like just take rest days, try to work through it on my own. Did before my surgery, I did have a little bit of PT with it as well. So they would do heated pad, e-stim, kind of stuff like that.
Hmm.
It worked for a little bit. I would be able to get back into the gym, do some lifting, and then it just kind of like cycle would just repeat itself again.
Yeah.
And it during the day, there would be days where I just need to take days off of work and just kind of have to lay in bed all day because I really couldn't do much in terms of lifting the dogs or just
Mm.
going outside for a walk and things like that. So obviously not a great way to kind of move through or not move through life, I should say, when you can't really do just the normal day-to-day things, getting in and out of the car, or helping out with chores around the house.
Yeah, man. For you at that time, like, what was lifting to you? Like, why was that something that was really important to like get back to doing?
Yeah, so it was kind of like my outlet for stress relief for work or for just life in general. It's where I got a lot of interaction with a lot of my friends as well.
Mm.
So not being able to kind of take part in that wasn't really great headspace for me either. So it really prevented me from having that outlet that I had. Like I said, when having a rough day at work or just rough day in life in general, or just shooting, talking with my friends or things like that, wasn't able to really kind of go through with my outside of the house
Mhm.
activities, just kind of like stuck here, if you will.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear you on that, man. I mean, for me too, like lifting is such a huge part of what I like doing. It's my form of stress relief, and on the rare occasions where something's like really impacting my ability to train, whether it's like some sort of ache or pain or injury or whatever, um, definitely notice a difference. Like that's for sure not fun to deal with.
Yeah.
So after your surgery, I know that you said you did like the kind of traditional PT route and all that sort of stuff. How long were you in PT before you ended up kind of leaving that more traditional PT setting and kind of working with us?
Yeah, my second back surgery, I think I had about 12 sessions. So it would range, two or three sessions a week. Some weeks it would be one, just depending on my schedule. So I'm pretty
Hmm.
sure it was about 12 sessions that I was like approved for through my insurance. So it was kind of a quick turnaround, especially for, got hardware in my back now. I felt like I should
Yeah,
have maybe a little bit more
right.
uh, hands-on experience with the PT staff, but just kind of really boiled down to what I was approved for through my insurance and kind of ran the course with that. They got me to, a base level of, okay, you can function again on a daily
Mm,
basis. It may be not what your level of functioning was in the gym, but you can at least function in the house, around the house, kind of all that fun stuff. So that was when it kind of when that pre-approved sessions ended. That's when I kind of started to reach out to see what else was out there for me.
got it. If you had to kind of like take a guess, like 0 to 100%, 100% means you could like fully train squat heavy, deadlift heavy, all that sort of stuff. 0% means you couldn't train at all. How far do you feel like they were able to get you back to with that more traditional kind of PT setting?
I'd probably say around like 55% or so, 55, 60%. They at least got me under a squat bar. Definitely wasn't a heavy squat bar. I don't think if I remember correctly, I don't think we did any deadlifting with my PT. It was really just more of getting under a squat bar.
Mm,
Definitely no benching or anything else with that. I remember they explicitly told me if I did machines, like no like prone hamstring, anything like that that might do um, stress on my lower back. No,
mm,
none of the back extension machines. If I did those machines, at least to start. And so yeah, it got me at least, like I said, under a bar, super light squat,
mm.
no deadlift, no benching. So it got me kind of up to a base, what they considered was a base.
Yeah. Okay, got it. And then obviously after that, like your main goals were to get back to like actual lifting, training heavy again, all that sort of stuff. Um, what were some of like the main concerns that you had or like main worries that you had going from like that type of physical therapy back to like getting back to regular training on your own?
Yeah. I think the first one was just kind of like where to start.
Mm,
What program we would be good. I kind of had that mental block out there because the second time that my disc herniated, I was actually doing a heavy-ish squat, not super heavy, but I physically heard it and felt it pop, and so
mm,
kind of that mental hurdle was tough to get over after PT. Like, how much should I be squatting, or what is a good progression to in terms of rep scheme, in terms of weight scheme, to kind of get back into things. So that was, I think, one of my biggest mental blocks. And then, like I said, kind of the whole programming around it. Like I could easily just find something to do online, but I wasn't sure if it was a good progression for someone who was in my situation. So um, I guess the two biggest things would be that mental block of like, okay,
mhm.
is it going to happen again? And number two, what is a good first step? What is a good second step? What is a good third step as I progress and kind of on ramp it back up?
Okay. Yeah, man, that makes a lot of sense. And then like at that time, especially having undergone the surgery and all that, um, how like how are you feeling or what was your mindset like about your back at that time?
Yeah, every movement that I did, bending over and picking something up off the ground, even if it wasn't in the gym, every way that I sat, every way that I kind of walked, I was always thinking about, is it an optimal, quote unquote, optimal way for me to be moving.
Hmm.
And so it kind of at the beginning there, it kind of took over a lot of what I did. Again, whether that was sitting, standing, moving. Because part of the PT was like they actually, walked me through, what's a good way to walk, at which angle should your posterior chain be at, and kind of all that fun stuff. So
Mm,
it was kind of like rethinking everything. And I think it got me in my own head a lot in terms of, again, if I was picking something up off the ground, if I was picking up my dog or, any yard work that we were doing, I was always kind of thinking about probably over analyzing what I was or wasn't doing.
mhm.
And again, a lot of in my own head type of situation.
Yeah, no, that's unfortunately a very, very common thing, especially with like low back injuries or surgeries. I mean, we use our backs like so much for so many of our activities, whether it's in the gym, at home, at work, all that sort of stuff. And when you had an injury or multiple injuries or surgery, it becomes like a very mentally taxing thing that a lot of people have to deal with where they're like always concerned about moving the wrong way or lifting the wrong way, and that's it gets to be a lot. And some people just get like super tired of dealing with that. It kind of like sucks all the enjoyment out of like lifting because you're always just constantly concerned with doing the wrong thing and hurting yourself all over again.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right. So after dealing with that, you obviously kind of like reached out to us. Was there anything like really specific about us that made you feel like we'd be a good fit for you?
So I kind of checked out a lot of what you had posted on Instagram and read some of the read and listened through some of the testimonials that were out there. I think the number one thing was the fact that you actually worked with clients to kind of again get them back into the gym. That
Mhm.
yes, there might be some core work that was involved in it, but the fact that you kind of did a customized plan, it was the initial intake that we went through where you kind of helped analyze where I was at, kind of talk through where I wanted to be at. Um,
Mhm.
there have been quite a few, I think two or at least two or three other PTs that I had kind of interviewed, if you will, and just kind of pass the vibe check as well, if you will.
Mhm.
So in addition to kind of everything that you had out there, just being able to meet with you and kind of see that you would build that customized plan for me
Mhm.
was super helpful. And again, being able to kind of talk through where I was at, where I wanted to be at, and kind of how you envisioned that in between working to kind of move from point A to point B.
Yeah, awesome, man. So obviously we had that like kind of first chat where we first kind of got to know each other a little bit, all that sort of stuff. Did you have any like hesitations about moving forward with our program, whether it's anything around like pricing, lack of insurance coverage, the fully online nature, kind of what we do, or anything like that?
At first, I think I wasn't quite sure about the whole online thing because I was, everything that I'd done PT wise was all in person, so I was kind of like,
Hmm.
how is it going to work? Obviously, there was out of pocket costs that was involved, but I'm thankfully in a position where I was able to, use some of my own savings to be able to pay for it, and it really for me it was yes, it was an investment, but it was a worthwhile one because had I not done that, I wouldn't have gotten that personal guidance again as I was like, where do I even begin and how do
Hmm.
I progress to where I would like to be? And it was just kind of nice having that reassurance of a professional who kind of understood the situation that I was in and was able to kind of work with me. Um, and like I said, it was worth the cost for that investment for me to be able to kind of have that assistance as I moved through my
Yeah.
rehab.
Right, awesome, man. Can you kind of walk me through what your like overall experience was like working with us, kind of what you enjoyed, kind of how we did things different, what results you saw, stuff like that?
Yeah. So I really liked the each week, obviously having the guidance of here's exactly the weights to use, here's exactly the rep schemes to use, here's exactly the movements that we're going to go through. It took out that mental piece. I got not mental, I guess, but it's just one of those things that I had to think about. Like
Mm,
I just every week I would log in and I would see, okay, here's exactly what I'm going to go through in that week. So that was super super helpful. Um, it obviously didn't do the lifting for me, but having the check-in each week was also nice to be able to make sure that I was keeping myself accountable, and getting the feedback in terms of if I shot a video and provided it to you, getting that feedback as well as with the movement, which kind of helped replace the whole it has to be in person. Like, no,
mhm.
it can still be done online, and you might not have the immediate feedback, but you'll get feedback within a few hours or within a day or so of that movement's looking good, or let's tweak this type of thing with your movement type
Mhm.
of situation. So that was a really nice component of it to just again just log into the app, see exactly what to do, upload a video if I needed to, and then kind of rinse and repeat each week that we went through the program.
Yeah, awesome, man. Was there anything that like we programmed that you weren't expecting or you kind of like surprised about, like any specific movements or anything like that?
I think for me, I think getting back into the deadlifts right away and because I was kind of anticipating like having that be down the line a little bit, but
Mm,
just starting off super light was again really nice looking back on it because it kind of got myself out of my head. I was like, okay, I got to do it. It's programmed in. I got to do it. And starting super, super light. So that way I could kind of feel the movement and kind of know how it is. And again, at the beginning, taking some videos and kind of using that as feedback in terms of, okay, making sure that the movement is proper before we start adding on any additional weights. Kind of
Mm.
helped again with that whole slight on ramp instead of just going from 0 to 100. You got to have the whole increments in between.
Yeah. All right, perfect, man. And then by like the end of us working together, where were you able to get back to with with your training?
Yep. Yeah. So I was just below 300 pounds for my squat. So I've now gotten above 300. I'm not quite to
Nice.
315. I'm taking it a little bit slow, still a little bit here. So I think I'm up to like 305 now, which is nice to kind of be over that mental hurdle of 300. It's not, three plates on each side or anything quite yet, but I know I'll get there. And I've since moved on to finding some additional training online, but I've kind of incorporated some of like the warm-ups and things like that
Mhm.
we worked through when I was working with you. Those are, something that I continue to kind of use to kind of get myself primed for whatever the workout is that I'm going to be doing in that particular day. There's still some movements that like I had learned from you, like the SSB. My gym is lucky that I got SSB bar, and so I was able to kind of still incorporate some of those. So the programming that I'm doing now, I can kind of like tweak it based on some of the things
Mm.
that we have done and kind of bring in some movements or even some physical equipment that I probably would have never used before and wasn't exactly sure how to use and kind of keep that up as I use my own programming that I've got out there now.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. And how's your back been holding up since we stopped working together?
Good, yeah, no issues so far, knock on wood. So again, I think that making sure that my form is good, not being stupid with like throwing on an additional couple set of plates each day or
Mhm.
anything like that. Just taking it slow, keeping the form good. Doing the increments in terms of the weights, just not doing the ego lifting that I might have been doing in the past. It's much better to move slowly in terms of weight progression
Mm.
than have to take weeks, months, or years off if you have to go through rehab or surgery or anything like that. It's way cheaper than having to go through another surgery.
Yeah, that's for sure, man. Um, did you have any like big mindset shifts around like back pain or your back in general, like from the time that we kind of spent together?
Yeah, I think the biggest shift is like I can throw heavy weight on my back to squat, or I can do a heavy deadlift, and it's not instantly gonna like break my back or anything like
Hmm.
that. I think that's the biggest mind shift that I had there. At the beginning, doing 135 on a squat would have caused me to kind of like second guess myself, like, should I really be doing this type of situation? Now I'm
Yeah.
at 305 and 315 in my sights. Not really worried about that. It's just more of like, do I have the strength now versus is my back going to be the thing that gives out? It's now,
Mm.
do I have the leg strength to do that, or do I have the posterior chain strength to do a heavy deadlift, whatever the case may be? So I think that's the biggest shift that I've got now is I can put something heavy on my back in a squat, or I can do a heavy deadlift and not instantly fear that my back is going to break or anything like that.
Yeah, it's really nice to have like your actual performance be the thing that you're worrying about in the gym instead of like constantly thinking you're going to re-hurt yourself or
Yeah,
thinking about the pain or injury, that sort of thing.
absolutely, for sure.
Awesome, man. So yeah, I mean, if like you were talking to somebody who was on the fence about like working with us due to some injury that they were dealing with, like what would you tell them?
I'd say, absolutely do it. Like, I understand that, yes, there is, a different cost associated with this since it's not necessarily covered by insurance, but the peace of mind that it provided me, the guidance that it provided me, the confidence that it provided me was well worth the cost that was involved in terms of monetary costs. The time commitment that I put into it was absolutely worth it as well. Yes, there's time commitment that's involved to get to the gym and do the movements and all the things, but I think people who want to get back to that kind of lifestyle, if they're used to it, they kind of know that the time is going to have to be a part of it. And I would do it again in a heartbeat if I was in the situation.
Cool. Well, I hope that pretty much stay like injury free and just training consistently and all that, but I definitely appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you.
So yeah, Dustin, thank you for kind of hopping on this with me and talking through your experience. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries.